Hi, this is Abdul with you. I hope you should be watching my videos and you should be visiting my website as well, which I have just launched a few days ago. In this video, we will try to discuss one interesting project management topic about success or failure of a project. A few days ago, almost 6 days ago, I put two questions on my LinkedIn profile, and maybe some of you should have gone through these questions as well. So, these questions were in contrast to each other, and I had put them with some hours of separation. So, one question was that assume you are managing a project and the cost and schedule both are on track, but the customer is not happy with the project. Will you call this project as a success or a failure? So as you can see that this question gets some comments. In the same way, I had put another question that you are managing a project which is lagging in both schedule and cost, but due to some reason, the customer is happy with you. You will call this project as success or failure. So if you see this, the question is the same, exactly the same. Will you call this project as a success or a failure? But the statement is in contrast. Both the statement they are kind of replica of each other. Uh, Sorry, not replica. They are opposite to each other. In one statement, we have a project which is going fine, but the customer is not happy with the project. In the other question, we have a project which is not going fine, which is going very bad, but due to some reason, the customer is happy with the project manager. Here also, when I was discussing with some people, when we were discussing this in LinkedIn, I tried to emphasize on this point as well that customer is happy with the project manager, not with the project. So these are the kind of catch in this statement that here the customer is not happy with the project. So here the project is going fine, but customer is not happy with the project. Here the project is not going fine and customer is happy with the project manager. In both the question, I have tried to give some kind of direction from my side. Like here, a project manager, the customer is not happy with you, and I had given a hashtag of stakeholder management. I try to give some direction that maybe stakeholder management should be on the stake. And here we see the project is going very bad, but the project manager, the customer is happy with him. So here I try to give a hint that maybe some gold plating is going on. This may be a reason. So if you see these both these questions, you can see that there was more engagement on the second question, 82 comments, and a bit less engagement on the first question, 33 comments. But there was a good discussion on both of them, and I tried to engage similar kind of people here and here as well. There were some of the participant of both the questions were same as well. So this gives me a good idea that how they think of project and its success and failure and other aspects. One thing is that always there are some people who think that the customer is the key. I mean, the customer is happy, then everything is fine. So in this question, the second question, the customer was happy with project manager. So a lot of people, or I will not say a lot, but some of the people who has very simple targeted idea, that if a customer is happy, then the project is success. I try to convince to them that, I mean, customer happiness is something which is desired, but how can it be the main reason? And when I even tagged one guy on this question, and I asked him that now, I mean, what is your take on customer? Because project is going fine, but customer is uh, not happy. But I did not get any response. So the people who were on this question, the people who were with the customer, I mean, that if customer is fine, then everything is fine. They did not show the same kind of feedback here. So one thing that I get from this, that we generally we do everything based on our experience and learning, but basically on our wishes. I mean, so like for example, like me as well, or every project manager or everyone, we all want to be successful. So what I felt is that here, even though the project was kind of failing project, but because the customer was happy, so some people, they try to make the customer the hinge of their decision, that okay, if customer is happy, then everything is fine. But on this question, because customer is not happy, they did not participated well. But the kind of participation that I get was the same, that you can feel that they say that maybe customer is not happy because of any reason, and we can meet the customer and we can tell him. I mean, we can tell him, the customer here as well, that brother, you are happy, but your project is failing. I mean, you are happy with the project manager of a failing project. So the customer is the king, but if our project is going fine and customer is not happy, then the same customer is not always the king. I mean, our wishes are the king basically. So one type of people that I find or I was able to identify was that they were on the success side basically. They did not want to be on the failure side. So in both the scenarios, they uh, think that the project should be successful, because one, the project is basically successful, but customer is not happy. In question two, they try to say that okay, if customer is happy, then we can bring the change orders, we can bring changes, and we can make the, because if customer is happy, so it simply means that he may be able to invest as well. He will approve our change requests, and we will make the project a success. I ask one or two guys that what you are telling is a future scenario. I mean, maybe if the project is let to run for a few more months or whatever, then maybe in the future it will become fine. But the question is about now. For example, we are closing the project now. We will close it on what level? Some of the guys, they ask more, I mean, insightful things, that where are we right now, and in what situation we are, because this is very because in from this is, you can say, a bit of a known flow. I mean, because when I was making this question, because we assume if we are asking about a success or a failure, generally it is assumed that it will be a closure time. I mean, I did not write it specifically here. I should have wrote it specifically, then it should have become more easy. I want to keep it a bit difficult as well. I mean, so if we are going to close a project, then we have to, these questions come in light at the closing times. It's not like that you start a project, the project has just kicking off is being done a few days ago or maybe only a month ago. It's a 1 year project. You are just in, for example, in the third month. Then you don't talk about success or failure of a project. You know that project is started. There may be some mistakes or there may be something not right going on at the start, but we know that okay, if there is some problem, then we can try to correct it. But the question of success and failure, either it happens in the very much start before the planning phase, because during planning you came to know that this project should not be able to be done. I mean, so you close the project before you even start it. Or the second thing is on the closing time. When closing time comes near, then you start asking this question from different people that okay, we are going to close this project. Now tell us that this project was a success or a failure. So a lot of people, there was very different kind of people engaged in this conversation. Some of them were very learned and very good project managers, and some of them were even trainers. And I feel that the people who are more related to the project management itself, who are doing project management, I felt, I mean, this is that they were a bit shy of the word failure. They try to convince that both of the scenarios are success, because in both the scenarios, in this scenario, the first scenario is a bit simple. That project is really successful. You just have to convince the customer that project is successful. In the second scenario, even though project is not going fine, but because customer is happy, so we can use this happiness to make this project a success. So they were of the opinion that we should not declare the project failure in any case, because both the project can be made successful. Because, and from that I feel that, you know, if a person is in the project management field, then I don't know, because of very obvious reasons, that he's a bit afraid or he's a bit shy of the word failure. He don't want the word failure to attribute it to him in any ways, I mean, which I feel is not very good. I mean, I also, if you ask me directly, or I will never like a failed project to be attributed to my name. But yes, if I'm doing a project, the project is failing, then I will have no choice to say that this project is failing. I mean, I'm trying to make this a success, but the project is actually failing. It's a failed project, which we are trying very hard to turn the tables around. And the people who are not directly connected with project management, but they had some project management idea, and they also responded, and some of them, they got very good, they put very good insights as well. So they jumped towards failure. I mean, they were like, they did not take even what we say, that they did not think for a more second. I mean, in both of the questions, they found that there is a reason of failure, so they made it failure. So this is also not, I will say that this is also not a very good way of dealing a project. Both of these ways, calling it a success or calling it a failure, because as I told you that I had put some distractors or some kind of directions from my side, and I had removed some critical information, that in uh, which phase of the project we are right now. So generally, like some of the guys, very few of them, they try to put a bit descriptive answer that okay, if this is the case, then this may be success. If this is the case, then this may be failure. So I find it very, you can say that very informative for me as well. It was a very learning experience for me as well. That if we add these two comments, these are maybe 115 comments in total, and these were most of the comments are from my side because I was trying to make this conversation go further and go further. So if I make a kind of small guess, it will not be more than 30% which had put some value in it, 30 or maybe 40%. So within even 30-40%, we had a very diverse response. Both the questions are, you can say, kind of quite straightforward, and we had a failure, either failure or success, both success. So we have all the flavors, and uh, there was no unanimity made possible, even after I conversed with a lot of guys for quite long. So this made me think that, if we are doing anything, I mean, and if we don't have that is the reason why we have some bodies and we have some forums and we develop some framework and we develop some protocols and we develop some naming conventions just because of this thing that even for these small kind of two questions and with such a small audience, we were not able to find a specific answer or a very answer which should be acceptable to everyone. So that is why whenever we are doing anything, one thing that in project management and even in other things, uh, what we try to convey or what we try to tell the guys that whenever you are trying to do anything, try to make a level field, try to bring the people on the same level and try to use the same kind of wording. And if anyone is using anything, because maybe at the end of the day, if we sit with each and every one, we may came to know that the the main idea in the mind of everyone was almost the same. Some people they had their own wishes as well, but most of the people they had the same idea. For the sake of this discussion to go on, not I did not want to make it finish very fast, and I was not giving specific ideas from my side. I just wanted to go further so that I can get some feedback from the people that how the people think. But if now if we really want to know that was the project successful in question one or was it successful in question two, so let's see that how in the light of PMI guidelines or PMI feedback or PMI a body of knowledge, how we can try to get these questions. So if we see, I had done a very small research from my side on the PM Box 6. These were some of the things that even they were mentioned within that discussion as well. If you see the first one, this should be, you can say, the take of this whole lecture. If you read here what PMI says, that effective project management helps individuals, groups, and public and private organizations to identify, recover, and terminate failing projects. So first of all, some of the guys which were of the opinion that a project cannot fail in almost any circumstances. So I want to give them a suggestion based on this. One thing I will make clear before this, I mean that what we are talking is a general thing. It should not be put on some very specific project which is in a very specific circumstances. So we are talking about a very general scenario. So if a project manager is managing a project, so it's part of, you can say, his job. If he want to do effective project management, then he should be always trying to identify the failing projects. And when he identifies a failing project, then first he should try to recover that if the project is at such a place that the project can be recovered in any ways, then it should be recovered. But if the project is on such a place in maybe the project has not yet started and he starts feeling that project is doomed to be failed, so he should convince everyone to close the project at the spot. I mean, because project has not yet started. And even if the project is in the closing phases, but it is a failed project, it should not give you anything good. So whatever has been done has been done, whatever has been wasted, but still at that place the project should be declared as a failed project and it should be closed as a failed project. It should be terminated as a failed project. So if you see these three things, that he should identify is okay, but then he should try to either recover or terminate. There is no other thing. I mean, he should not let it go. For example, if I'm a project manager and I feel I'm very much convinced that this project is a failure, but I just let it go because if I make it, I announce it as a failure, this is my project, the failure should come to me and I will be blamed. Okay, I should be strong enough to take the blame. So just to reiterate that a project may fail, a project may be declared failed, but yes, there must be very strong reasons for everything. So just in contrast to this, poorly managed projects or the absence of project management may result in failure in achieving the objective for which the project was undertaken. So this is one of the reasons that, okay, why a project may be failed. A project may be failed generally because of two things. Number one is an absence of project management. So if a project has no project management, then the chances that project should be fail are much more. And if it is poorly managed, then again this project can fail. So a poorly managed project or an unmanaged project, a project without any project management, both of them can fail in achieving the objects. So if you achieve the objects, then your project is simply failed. And from this statement, we know that project can fail. So generally speaking, when should we, as I talked just a few minutes ago, that generally, because when we are starting a project and it's in very initial phases, then most of the project their charter is also not written. I mean, technically, the project have not started. I mean, so they are not even failed as well. I mean, if you are in the very initial part, if you are just writing the project charter, and at that time, if you feel the project should fail, then generally the charter is not written, so project is not initiated as well. So, and then usually, I mean, this is a generally then project failures, they come to know in the closing times when you are closing a project, at that time you came to know that the project was a success or a failure. So if you read this PM Box 6, this is I have taken from PM Box 6, the most latest one. So when closing the project manager reviews the project management plan to ensure that all project work is completed and the project has met its objective. So this is a part of the closing time. When you are closing a project, the project manager should ensure that, okay, everything is done. The activity necessary for administrative closure of the project or phase include but not limited to. So the activities which are related to the closure is now if you will open the book, these are not single liners. Like for example, like effective project management does not include only one thing. There are 14-15 things. I have just picked the one that I required. I had done a cherry picking as per my requirement here. So same poorly management projects, this is not a one liner, there are many things. So even for closing the project, there is not one thing. I mean, you have to do a lot of things. You have to write your lesson learned, you have to close the procurement, and you have to do a lot of things. You have to check that everything which was part of the plan is being closed now. But one of the thing is that the project manager, one thing that is needed to be done is audit project success or failure. So again, I will kind of ask the guys who were very much against the word failure. If a project cannot fail, then why PMI is asking us to do an audit of project success or failure? I mean, this should not be a part of any discussion. I mean, all projects are successful somehow, some day or some fine day they become successful. I mean, so it is not like that. Mainly, what I feel is that most of the government projects are always a success because of the reason that there is almost no way of ending a project if it is not completed. Almost no way of doing it. So if you have no exit from a project, then you have to declare it successful somehow, even if it is successful or not, because of various procurement and other reasons. But the projects which are on private side and some of the projects on even on government side as well, a project may fail. I mean, if a project has failed and you have reached the closing of the project, and in the closing you came to know, even though you know it from somewhere before that as well, and you should be working hard to, as I told here in that effective project management is to identify, recover, and terminate failing projects. So maybe you identify a project that is going to be failed and you try to recover. Somehow you feel that there is still something in the project. There is some, if you put some things, if you put some more budget maybe, or you put some resource, maybe you can try to bring it back. But still, if you are not able to do it and then you decide to terminate it, so at the closing time, you have to audit the project based on success and or failure. And there is one thing that we must learn from this point here as well. This relates to lessons learned, because what I have seen, I have found in many projects that a project is done, but because of any reason, the lesson learned are not shared. And I have here also I have feel there are two kind of people. Some of the people, because either a project should have been a success or a failure. I mean, so for example, if a project is success, then they say that because the project is successful, so there is no need to learn anything. I mean, because it's a success. We got what we needed and we can replicate it. And if a project is failure, then they say, oh, project is already a failure. What we will learn from a failed project? But both of these mindsets are very much wrong. A failed project is a heaven of learning. I mean, you can learn a lot from a failed project because it will give you very different insights. And success project is also a smaller heaven of learning. I mean, it's not that only failed projects help you in learn. A success project also help you a lot in learn because you learn that how you were successful. But again, I will emphasize that a failed project may give you more insights than a successful project. But both of the projects, the lesson learned must be taken, the lesson learned must be written, the lesson learned must be shared. And this is the part, or this is the reason of this audit of the project. We audit a project at the time of closing so that we can get the lessons learned from it. And we get a lesson learned from both the successful and the failed projects. Now, one thing that I've added here, that if you see this, one of this question, because I feel a lot of guys, they were of the opinion that if a project is going fine and only the customer is not happy, then some of the people they say, our customer is never happy. I also agree with it. A customer is never happy. I mean, customer is very strict. Customer is always pushing, and customer is not showing his happiness. But still, the key concept for project is stakeholder management. The ability of the project manager and team to correctly identify and engage all of the stakeholders in an appropriate way can mean the difference between project success and failure. So, stakeholder engagement is also a factor, a big factor in a project success or failure. It can be applied in both of these, and at least more in the one where the customer is not happy, because if your customer is your main stakeholder and if he is not happy, and this question was asked by some of the guys in this conversation as well, that what kind of unsatisfaction is there, because this is very, you can say, very lengthy topic and it's very tricky question. I mean that, okay, customer is not happy, but customer, why the customer is not happy? And if we have delivered everything, I mean, on the cost and schedule are fine, then why customer is not happy? And is if this is a project manager's responsibility, or it's a bigger responsibility on someone else's shoulders. So this is again a tricky thing, a tricky question. But one thing is that if the customer engagement is fine, then even the worst of the customer, they will show some, they may show still, I mean, whatever you give them the best kind of thing, still they will show some kind of discomfort. But if they are engaged properly, then it's usually they will not show these kind of dissatisfaction, that you will take it as a project failure or something missing in the project. Generally, the customer will, even on the last day, he will say that you did everything fine, but it's still these two, three things, they were not good. But yes, if a customer has a very long list and he has 50, 60 points, and he is still showing that he is not happy, then this can hurt your future relations. But yes, it should not be put, the blame should not be put on the project manager only, because the project manager has done most of his part. He has delivered the project on cost and on schedule, the most two bigger things he has done. So now the his management should support him, and his management should try to intervene and try to make the customer on a more meaningful terms. So, but the main point again, that if a customer is not happy with a successful project, a project which is successful but customer is not happy, then again the management should try to see that, because even the if the stakeholder management is not done properly, this is also a question mark on the overall success of the project, because a project is just not made of a cost and a schedule and the project deliverables. It is made of everything, because you have to go further, you have to go beyond this project, you have to go for other avenues as well. And in the same way, if a project is lagging but the customer is happy, then again the management should take some interest in the project, that why a customer is happy with the project manager of a project which is not being delivered. There may be some reason. For example, a project manager is delivering 10 projects and one of the project is not going fine. Then it's very simple that, okay, he's overburdened and he's not able to. But in all of these circumstances, if you see that there should be something which needs to be done, both of these questions, they show that there is something which is not fine, and someone, maybe not the project manager, maybe the project management office, or maybe the management, or anyone sitting on a better position, he should intervene at these points and he should try to make these things fine. And last, to finish this, just to that project may be failed. I mean, this is, we should all keep in our mind that it's not like a project will never fail in all circumstances. The projects may fail, and if a project fails, then the project manager should take his responsibility. Up to what extent? I mean, he should make an audit. He should identify the reasons, that, okay, these were the reasons because of which my project failed. And if a project is successful, again, he should make an audit and he should tell the points, that these were the points because of which my project succeeded. And in both the scenarios, these should be recorded and kept as a lesson learned, so that it helps you in your next project. So I hope you should like this discussion that I did. I hope this will give you some insights of project management, that when we are doing a project, mainly we are only interested in the main core deliverables, that, okay, I have to deliver this one thing, so I am pushing for this one thing only. Project is not only limited to one deliverable or its cost and schedule. Project is a full, it has a big environment. It's everything is part of it. The stakeholders, the management, the people, the teams. So everything should be dealt in a way that make the project successful for you. So hopefully I wish that all of our project managers, they deliver successful projects. No one likes to deliver a failed project. So see you in some other video. Keep watching my videos and do like it, subscribe it, share it. If you like the idea, if you like the content, share it with your friends so that it reaches more people and more people can benefit from it. So see you in some next video. Okay, bye.